Hello and welcome again to the session. Let's build Python website using Django, and we have Fikri Ismail with us today to guide us on how we can do this web development. And let's hear from him. Over to you.
Hello, hi, good morning, guys. So I hope you can just clearly hear me and right. Let's hope you can just hear me. Yeah.
I'm sorry for interrupting, but your voice is a little bit low, I think.
Let me check the
No,
setting.
it's good.
Can you hear me now? Is it clear, right? No?
Yes, perfect. Perfect.
Okay, good, very good. So let's start. Okay, my name is Fikri Ismail, and I am a. Let's get started straight away sharing the screen. So okay, everything is visible, right? So to start with, my name is Fikri Ismail and I am a Microsoft MVP for developer technology. So I was awarded in 2017 and then already I have awarded this 16 times for my contribution. So I'm just a developer on Python, and then if you see my contributions here, I'm just mostly on .NET frameworks, and then again, so I just work with Python as well. And apart from that, I am working with Power Platform as well on Power Apps, Power Automation. So that part, another area I'm just working on. This is me, and then this is where I work. So I work at a company called OSUS. It's a Oman-based company. We develop product-based. It's a product-based company. We develop ERP solutions, sort of things in the Middle East countries. So I am the architect there for .NET. So this is where I work, my working place, and this is me. And then this is my LinkedIn profile. If you want to connect with me, this is my LinkedIn profile. If you just search for Fikri Man on LinkedIn, you will have my profile here. So all the work I have done, all the posts I'm going to do, sharing my tutorial stuff, everything will be here. So, and I'm based in Sri Lanka. That's my introduction. And so we're going to start on Python. Python will be, I hope, I assume, because this will be a session for people who already programming with Python language. Not much knowledge is needed, but still you can program in Python. It's no problem. We're going to use some Python stuff. If you want to download and set up Python, you can just go to this python.org and then click downloads. So I am on Mac OS. It will be for me, it will just give this one. If you're on Windows, you can just download from here, or I would prefer you can use Windows Store. Go to Windows Store and then search for Python, and then you will be presented with different versions, and then you can install it. If you know the Python is installed, you can just go there and check it. So I will show it to you. So I will open another terminal here. Uh, let's stop this. So you can just say here on your command prompt, or maybe a PowerShell or any shell you use, you can just say Python dash dash version, and then that means Python is installed. So we'll see like this here. If you have Python is installed, you will see this version here. So that means you have Python installed and it's working fine. Next step will be Django. Django is a web framework. So let me start from here. So we have Python. This is where you start. We have Python. Let me launch. Yeah, you have Python here. And then that will be your programming language. Then using Python, there will be another thing called Django. Django, which is the web framework. It's a web framework that we can just leverage Python language to build web applications or web APIs. So that's Python. And then using these two, we're going to build our website. This is where we start using Python and Django. Django is a framework, a web framework, and Python is the language. We build our application here. This is our website. So this is how we start, like Python, Django, website. So that's why because this is easy to develop. If you use just Python, it's a bit hard to do these things. But now we are using Django as a framework. It's like if you're coming back a background from a .NET background, it's like C# and ASP.NET, not the .NET framework. .NET framework is a different story because Python has a different libraries. So that's a different story. Python and libraries are with there, and then Django is a web framework. You have to remember that, right? So, and then we will be looking at this pattern. If you go here, we will be looking at this pattern called MVC. This is the pattern we're going to looking at, right? MVC. This is a design pattern we use to develop websites or web applications. This is called MVC. M stands for model, and V stands for view, and C stands for controller. So we're going to use this pattern to develop our website. So models will be all your data and stuff, and the views will be your presentation, like the HTML or maybe whatever the output you see. Controller will be handling with this. This is how it works. Like if you look at this a website, right? Imagine you have your web server here. This is how it works. So you have your web server. Let me change this color. This is your web server. Now, inside your web server, you have your controller first, the C part, right? Let me create the controller. Yeah, controller. This is it's how it see. Just you have your controller inside your website in your server, right? This is your web server. Let me see, like, okay, this is my web server, whatever the web server. So this is your web server, and then the controller is here, right? Now, after that one, you will have consumers, whoever people are using the website. Like for example, let's say the browser, right? The web browser or mobile application, whatever it is. Every request. So normally we call it as a request. You type www.someexample.com. It will go to the server. It's called as a request. So this request will be sent to the controller. This is where it starts, this pattern. So it's sent to the controller, and then controller will have to think about two things. Are we going to like imagine that you have requested a about us page. There is no data, it's just a blank HTML, whatever the HTML file with some designs. So how do you going to do that? We have the controller here. Yeah, like that. So the browser, it hits the controller. So next step will be control. If it's just a normal page, just a single whatever the page you just without data, what it does was it will look at the view. And then view will send whatever the requested page, send back to the controller, and then controller will send back to the browser. This is one way of doing it, right? So it goes this way, controller and then view, and it comes back controller and then to the browser. If you have data, that's the next thing, right? Imagine if you have data, like you are just picking up some data from the database, right? So then it will look at the model. Whatever the data layer, whatever the model, it will be looking at the model, and then it will look like this. It goes to the model and it comes back, and it will come back here, and again it will go to the view, and then view comes back and displays model. If you have outside database like this, like a database here, then model will go back to the database and data will be picked up and come back here and sent to the. So this is how it works, the model view controller. We are going to use this pattern here today, right? That's a small introduction about a model view controller. So this is the website we're going to build. So let me go to my, I'll just put it away. I will just away here. So here we're gonna say Python. I'll just teach you how to do this. Don't worry about this right now. And run server. Right. So this is the one we're going to build today. So imagine you have your small blog application. So we have some posts. You have your blog and you click on a post, the post will be displayed and then you go back to here. So if you want to enter blogs, you go to this admin and you have your username and my password, and you go back here and then you just add a post. Let me say a new post. Let's say demo web app, and the date will be today, time will be now. So I'm going to say this is a simple demo of the web application we are going to build today. We will be using Python and Django, right? And author will be me, and I'm the whatever the category here, right? So I think I missed it there. So if you save it, now you have selected this one, right? We have it here right now. We have saved it. And if you go back to your blog, you have an admin and then you go back to your blog here, say my blog app. Now you have the new blog here. Then if you click it, you have the blog as well with the date. Right now we added it and everything is there, right? So this is what we are going to create today from scratch using Django and Python. So let's get started. I'm gonna close all these stuff and then keep only this website, right? So we're going to start with my console. So I'm going to stop the server. So this is my directory, whatever the directory you can just say, let's create a new directory. If you're on Windows, it's the same thing because make sure you're using Windows Terminal and PowerShell Core. So the commands will be the same. So I'm going to say create a directory. I'm going to directory mkdi. I hope these are visible, right? So let's a little bit more. Okay. Let's clear it and say mkdir. I'm going to say my blog site. So that's the first one. I'm going to go inside my directory and there's nothing there. So this is the not that one. Let's create blog, my blog. Just say my blog. So it's a blank site, right? Nothing there. So it's nothing. So this is what you're going to start. First thing, we have Python. The first thing you have to do is like you have to create a virtual environment. A virtual environment means whatever the environment we're going to create, it will be work inside that environment. What you install, whatever the modules you download, everything will be inside. It's kind of a sandbox to you to create. That's a very good practice when you create projects. You start with that. This is how you create. You just say Python -m will be save modules, and then you have to say v. This is a module we're going to execute, the venv. It's called the virtual environment. After that, you can just give any name you want. You can say my virtual environment, whatever it is. Normally by practice, we use the same name, venv, right? This is how you do that. So you're going to say like this, Python and then -m venv. This is the command, and this part you can give any name you want. So for now, I'll just give the same name. This is how to do that, right? Now, then press enter. Now you have created a virtual environment here. It's just took 2 seconds. Now if you just put like ls, and then you will see this one, virtual environment. This is what you have right now. Next step will be open the Visual Studio Code. Let's open Visual Studio Code. I'm going to say code dot. That means from this directory, open. So make sure you remember these things, right? So Visual Studio Code. I'll just make sure this is a bit, yeah, visible. I hope this is visible. Now we have PNV, this directory inside my blog, right? And now we have this directory. This is where you start Visual Studio Code. Before that, I have installed few extensions to work with Python. First thing will be the Python extension. So you will see, let me show you the Python extension. This one. I have installed this Python extension. You have to install to get this information. Next step will be Django. See, this is Django syntax highlighting for HTML, the Django templates. That's you have to install the two things you have to install. And apart from that, I have installed this one to V SQLite for the database. So you can just this one SQLite for view any databases created inside here, because I'm going to use SQLite. So you can use any database you want, like a PostgreSQL, MySQL, whatever the database you like. So this is another extension to view. These three are the extension I have installed. For the colors and stuff, I just installed this material theme. Material, this icon theme for the icons, and then for this for the color theme, I think I have installed I don't know, so maybe the material theme as well. So those are the things you have to think about installed before you start, right? For the as extension, if you have downloaded Visual Studio Code. So that's the first thing. Next step will be I'm going to create a project here. Now before that, you have to go to view and go to command palette, or use the shortcut key. I'm going to click that command palette because we have created a virtual environment, and then search for Python, right? And then you have to select this one saying select interpreter. You have to do that, then it will be everything will be interconnected, and all the syntax highlighting will be work, because we have created a virtual environment. If you didn't create a virtual environment, you don't have to do this. It will automatically pick up. Now you select the interpreter. Now it will ask you three things. This will where I have the Python I have installed. I have two versions of Python here, and then this is the one I'm going to use within the virtual environment. So everything will, because it says recommended, use this one. Make sure you use, then you click on it. Now we have installed, set up the environment. Now we are inside the virtual environment using the Python interpreter. Next thing you will be see is terminal, new terminal. So this is the terminal I'm going to use. Right, we are inside the virtual environment. You will see if you have installed this sort of prompts, you will see it here as well. Right now I'm using this Python. Right, let's clear everything. Right now, the first step. Now we have to create the project. That's the first thing. In Python, you in this Django projects, you will have like this. First, you will have the project. You will have the project. Right. Then project will have lots of apps. App 1, like that. App 2, and lots of any number of apps. Apps 3. First, you have to create the project. If you are working with Visual Studio, it will be this will be the solution. This will be the different projects. Right here, it will be the project, and these are called apps in Python, in Django. So first, you have to create the project. This is how you create. Before that, now we have only Python. We don't have Django. Then we have to install Django. This is how you install. You can say because we are inside the virtual environment, everything will be installed inside this virtual environment. Right? I'm going to say Python -m, right? -m. Going to say pip. This is the Python installer, pip, and you can say install Django. This is how you do that. So if you go here, you can say Python -m pip install Django. This is the command, right? Now press enter. Now Django will install. So you will see Django is installed, and to check whether it is installed, imagine, look at this inside the virtual environment. You will see inside the library folder, with all the libraries, pip is here, Django is installed here, and the Python versions are there, Python 3.1. So everything will be inside this sandbox. So we have installed Django. That means Django is there. To check, we can just say Django admin -- version. See 4.11 version, it is installed. Now we have installed Django. Next step will be Django admin. Now we're going to create, if we just say help, we'll see all the commands. See check, compile, message. So we're going to use this one, start project. going to say Django admin start project, and then you have to give a project name. Project name, I'm going to say, okay, let's give it a name saying my blog site, right? So I'm going to give it like my blog site, or you can just say my blog and put a dot. That dot means it will use Django admin will use this directory as the project directory. Else what will happen was like it will create another directory called my blog, and inside that it will create the project. So make sure you do it with the dot. You just press enter. Now you have a nice looking directory called my blog. You have this my blog, and then all the information this will be the init.py will be the initialization file, and the settings for your blog, all the settings we're going to use these settings, and the URLs for routing we're going to use this one as well. And this will create. Now we have a project. That's the first step. Now you will see a manage.py, right? From now on we're going to use this manage.py version, right? So then I'm going to use this like this. You can just say, look at this, it will be same as the Django admin. So you will say my Python, and you will see manage.py and press enter. You will see the same commands, Django commands and other commands as well, right? So everything will be here. So let's say we're going to, from now we're going to use the manage.py. This is, now we have a project. Next step we're going to use is, we have the project. Now we're going to use to create an app. You can create multiple apps. For now I'm going to create one app. Right now by this point, so you have this project, and then if you just say okay, Python manage py, you have to test this, like run this. This is how you do. You just press enter. You will see a command called run server. See, this is how you run. Let's say clear. This is how you test Python manage.py run server. Enter. Now you will see you have the server is run. There's nothing. Don't worry about this red part. We're going to fix that later. So by default, it will say, okay, you don't have any databases sort of this. Now look at this. When you run the server, look at this part. See, you will see a database, DB SQLite. You're going to use this database to store information, and you have this managed by. This is the starting point. So far, we don't have any databases, so we're going to use that. So we're going to use this prompt 127.0.0.1.8,000. So let me open my browser. Where is my browser? So open my browser. I'm going to say and press enter. You will see this page. That means your Django installation is done. Everything is working fine. Now you can just start coding. If you see the screen, you see this 127.0.0.8,000. Everything is working fine, right? Django is working. Now your website is there. You have, if you read this one, this tutorial, a polling app, it has a very nice tutorial to create step by step to create this polling app. I reference this application to create this blog site as well. So it kind of a same thing, right? If you want, you can just follow that very example, and it's a very lengthy one. It will take you to like for 2-3 hours to finish this thing, right? You start it from there. Now our website is up and running. So let's keep that website running. Let's go back to and then create another shell, because we need this one, because the server is running here, Python, and then we're going to create this one here. Now we are there inside the same directory, right? Now we're going to create the application. How do we going to create the application? Say Python manage.py, right? And next step will be start app. Remember, we just use start project to start it. Now I'm going to use the start app. Let's say you can just give any name you want here. Python manage py and then start app, the application name. So for now, I'm going to say, let's say blog app. Right, press enter. So this will be your application. This is the one where you write code. This is the way the place you do stuff, right? By default, if you look at this one, now we have created here. By default, if you go back to your website, whatever the website, you refresh it, you will say /admin. So it's not started yet. So we can just create that later. We can guess you will get an admin by default, right? Let's go back to our application. We have to do something. Now let's try to understand the source code, but it is created. admin part. So this is the administration. So whatever the admin has showed you in my demo, we will be using that here to register things. Register model means you have, imagine you have a model that's a data. You can register here. Apps.py, this is your application configuration, right? So whatever this is, say, okay, this is the start and this is the name of your application, right? And models, whatever the data models you're going to use. For the blog, I'm going to use two models, right? So I'm going to use two models here, which will be the post and the category, two things. So later on, I'm going coming back to here. Don't worry about it. Test whatever the unit testing you're using. Now the views. This is bit confusing in Django. Actually, if you mention about views, we remember, we think, okay, it will be this part on the MVC, right? V, or maybe this view. No, in Django, view means it's the controller, right? So for views, we have templates for Django templates, right? Make sure you understand that properly, otherwise it will be a confusion. So this name is confusing. Actually, this will be handling the request and responses like in the controller. So it handles, it works like a controller. This is, so we're going to create templates later, but this is the view, right? I'm going to start a controller. The first thing, we're going to start like this, right? So let's say we start a Django function. I'm going to say hello. And we're going to say request. This is how the web works. Request and response. Always it's like this. And colon. We're going to say, now we're going to import a library here. Okay, Siri, not Siri, right? From Django dot HTTP. This is the handling the HTTP import HTTP response. This is the first thing we're going to use, right? Now we have this function say hello and say return HTTP response. See HTTP response. If you just move on the HTTP response, open brackets, you will see object, whatever the arguments, whatever the keywords, you can just send it through HTTP. For now, I'm going to send a string. Let's say hello world. The first thing I'm going to use. Let's save it. Now, Visual Studio Code will ask, okay, can I use a formatter? Yes, please. I'm going to say it says AutoPep 8, or you can use black, whatever the formatter you need. I'm going to say yes. So it will automatically format your code. So if you just press say, see it will, if you just go like this, save, it's automatically save your code, and the or it will just all the conventions will be applied, right? Now we have this HTTP response. This is the first thing you have to do. You create the controller. Now we have created the controller, and this will be called as an action in normal MVC world, right? Or in Django, we have this function. Now it should be okay. We have to grab the request and send back. How do you use that? Normally, what I'm going to use is I'm going to use another file called inside the blog app. I'm going to open that. I'm going to say URS, whatever the name you can use, but convention is used to URS.py, because if you see here, it's the same name used, URS.py, right? Here, this is the place you're going to set the route. Okay, the people will say, okay, in the website, make sure blog app / hello, and then display this page. This is the URL we're going to build. It's called routing. We're going to click the routing here, saying how to, let's have a look on that one. And let's see how to do that, right? So there it is. So I'm going to import few libraries. This is how we're going to import from Django dot URLs, right? Import path. That's the first thing we're going to use. And make sure this variable, this array is a must, and you have to create the same name. It should be URL patterns. See, you have to do that. So URL patterns, this is a name. You can't change this name. It should be lowercase, same name. It should be like that, right? URL patterns. So this is how you call it. So first thing you should call is like, okay, now we have the path, say path. If you open the path, you will see the route. How do it should work? So I'm going to say hello, and make sure it's end with this slash. It's always, it's a must. You have to do that, right? And then the name of the view. See the view, whatever the view, and look at that, it will return a URL pattern. So the view means you have to use this view. That means a controller. So let's say I'm going to import that one. I'm going to say from dot import views, all the views. Dot means this directory, and then import this module views. Next step will be views dot say hello. Now we have fixed the route. Now any request will be using this route saying, okay, whatever this slash hello, it will pick up. That's the first thing you have to do. Now we have fixed we create the controller. Now we have create the router. Next step will be we have to what do you call? We have to just tell our main project, I have a blog app, make sure you use it. This is how you're going to do that. You go to the main application, the project, click on the settings. Under settings, you will see a section called installed apps. So you have different apps installed by default for you, admin, auth, and then content types, sessions, messages. Here I'm going to give my application name. My name is blog app. Now we have registered our application here, right? We have installed our apps. Now we have created a URL. Let's try this one. So how it works, let's go to back to my site and say, let's type here. Now if we just do that, okay, is it working? Let's say blog app hello. So now it says page not out, or at the moment you have only admin, right? So you will see admin. Then we have to tell the routing package. Okay, where it says, let's go back to my code. Now we have this URLs. At the moment it says only we have here. See, that means if somebody types like this, somebody types on the URL saying blog app and something else, make sure to look at these URLs. That's we have to tell, right? So how can you tell? You just go back to the URLs. You have an example here saying import the include first. Yes, import. It's already include from Django.urls. So import. Where do you import? You already there is an import path. I'm going to import this include. Yes. Next step, add the URL for URL patterns, where whatever it is, and then include the URLs. So how do you going to do? You have to include this one, say from dot import, or you can just say like this. This is how you're going to do this, right? Just go back here. Let's say put a comma here. If somebody uses this URL path blog app slash, if somebody use this path, and make sure to pick up include my blog app name. So this is my blog app name, blog app dot this file, these URLs. Now everything is stitched together. Now application knows, okay, if somebody asks for this route, make sure to look at this route and then use these routing mechanisms. Let's go back to our website. And okay, we stopped it here, right? Yeah, the server is running yet, right? Let's go back to here and to the browser. Let's try to refresh. Yes, now it is. You have two things. You can just say slash. You will see it will say, okay, there is no main URL. Make sure to use these two. Now we have our blog app as well, right? Let's go to blog app slash hello. Now it says hello world. Now we have set up a route and we have a view. Next step is to make sure we add a template, the view part. We have the controller. Now I'm gonna create the view part. Let's do that now. Right. So now this next step is to do that. Let's go here inside the blog app. Make sure these are correct. It should be inside the blog app, right? Not outside, not migration, not there. You create a new directory, a folder called templates. That's your template. I'm going to say, okay, we have a template and then create a file. This will be your Django template. It should be an HTML file. I'm going to say whatever the name you can just give. Let's say index.html. Doesn't matter, right? So I'm going to here h1 and say, okay, this is the template h1. Gonna save it. Now we have a working route. Let's save this one as well. We didn't create models yet, so we have this. Now what I have to do is, like, if somebody calls this URL, I should not just directly display this message. It should be displaying a template, right? So I have this template folder. I have this index. That's done. Now let's go back to the views. Now we have to tell this request not to return just an HTTP response. Make sure you return a what you call a template or whatever the view. So this is how you do that. You have to import this one, Django shortcuts.render, and you have to return it like this. Return render. Now when you open your brackets, it will say the request, the HTTP request. I will say request and then the template name. See the template name. That's it. And then you can say everything else is optional. Now I'm going to say request, comma. Now the template name. Template name is index dot. You don't have to type any path because we have registered this application. It automatically picks up the templates directly and looks inside the index HTML. Index HTML. This is your template. Let's save it and try it. Right now you go back. When you refresh, you will see the template. Now we have hooked up the template. Now still we haven't sent any data from our controller to the view. This is how you do that. Let's say how to do that. Go back and go to the index. Let's say hello, some name. Here we can just say some name. Welcome. We're going to pass that name from our controller. This is how you're going to do that. You go back to your views and you have this here. You have to do something this. There will be an extra parameter. Come on. You can send an object, right? This is how you send this. With these two curly brackets, you give a, it's kind of a dictionary pattern. So you have a key and a value. The key will be whatever the value. I'm going to say my name. The value will be after a colon. This looks like a JSON. And let's say that's it. You save it. This is where you start. You have request in the template name and the object you're going to send, right? So we have that. So let's go back to our index.html. We're going to replace this one using like this. In Django templates, you have to use two curly brackets to get these things. Now you can just put your variable here, my name, in the middle, right? So we have this views. So the same thing, come to the template and put my name, save it, and let's try that. When you refresh, you will see hello, it is well. Now we have a mechanism to pass data from our controller. So this is the base of your application. Now you have understanding of, like, you can just send any data from Python. You can imagine you can just pick up something from a other API and get the data and pass it through, right? So let's create some models. I said you have to create two models. Here we need to have two models. Where it is, two models for my application. For my website, it's a blog, and then I have two models. The first one is post. Other one is a related model for this one called category. So every post will have a category like this. A post will have some different a title, description kind of thing, right? Let's create these two models and let's try to do how to use this one in Django on Python, right? So this is how you use. You start with, you go back. There's a special file called models inside your block app. Make sure always it's inside your block app. We are working inside the app. Now, anything you want to connect, you have to go to the main project. But at the moment you are working inside the, now you click in the models. So we have to create two different models. We start with this one. We'll start with the category. Let's say class. This is a object. Now I'm going to say category. First thing. Now you have to pass models from here. These models say model. Right now we have to create the first thing. Now we have models. Next step, this is the blank class name. Imagine this is the table name. Now we have to create fields. A field will be, for a category, will be the best thing will be name. Name equals models dot. Now you have to give the type, a character field. It's a maximum length of let's say 50. Now we have the category. This is how you create. Imagine this is a table, category table, and a name field with char field with 50 characters length. Now let's create the post. Class post, same thing. Models dot model. First, let's take a title. Same thing. Models dot text, maybe character fields, again char field, max length of maybe 450, and a publishing date, date time field, a date time field, or maybe you can just say date field only. Let's say date field, and you can just say verbose name. Verbose name means like when you use this uh, what you call now, this name people won't understand. You have to give a proper name. You can just say okay, date published, like that. People will see this name, right? When you console or when it logs, it will display. That's why it says verbose name. And let's just create the content for the blog. Models dot text field. You can just, it's kind of a text field, and then maybe the author. Models dot let's say char field, maybe max length will be 150 for the author. And finally you have to say okay, this post is from this category. We have to create a foreign key. It should be connected. Okay, whatever the category, we can just say ASP.NET or Python the category, and then we write the blog about it. So this is how you give a field name category, yes, and you have to tell this is connected with this category. It's a foreign key. I'm going to say models foreign key. Now what is the foreign key? Which is, that's a category, comma, and then you have to say on delete. What should happen? Delete. So everything should, whatever it is, it should be deleted when you delete this category. Whatever the post, model dot let's say models dot cascade. Right now we have two models. It's clear enough to understand. Let's delete these things. I don't need this. We have like two models, the category and the post. That's why I created the category first, because to use it here, right? Category. Now we have the post and the category, two different models. We save it. Now that's done. Next step is like to understand the admin. So I told you there is an admin. Let's go back to here, and you will, rather than block gap, if you just type admin here, you will see it. Oh, where is the admin? Okay, I'm going to show it here. Let's set up the admin. Now next step is for the admin, should be here. Right. For the admin slash. Yeah. Anyway, let's create the admin. Now we have this admin. Let's go back to my, oh sorry, Visual Studio and VS Code, and then we can just, let's close this one. Okay, now we have it here. Next step should be, we have to create an admin user, right? This is how you should just go back here, clear, and then let's say Django and manage. Not sorry, Django, it should be Python. Manage, and you will see under admin two different things. You can just say create super user and change password, right? I'm going to create a super user. I'm going to say Python manage create super user, right? What does it say? Let's go back to our admin. It should be available here. I mean the correct one. Okay. So let's go back to here. I'll just show it to you. So now we have the models here. Let's add the models here. So this is how you add the models into your admin panel. So you go back to this admin panel, this admin thing. You have to tell admin dot register dot this model. So you have to add these models, whatever the models you are using. So let me show you the code here I have. So that will be much more easier to show you, right? So you go back to your admin, whatever the admin thing, inside your blog app. Okay, it shouldn't be the app 3. Am I in the app 3? No, I'm in the wrong app. That's why it doesn't work. Control C. Okay, let's say right. If you go here, you will see this one. Let me show you inside my blog. In the blog app, you just go here and then inside the admin panel, this is how you do that, right? So this is how you do it. The admin site register whatever the post. Forget about this post admin and post category. And you can just say, okay, admin site register post, admin site register category. So this is how you do that. So you have these two, the post and the post admin. The post admin is different story. This is where you start. I'll show it to you. When you create the super user, so let's start it. How do you start it? Python manage run server. Right now, the run server, you will go back here. You will see the admin, right? So you will see these two added, the categories and the post. Those two are added in the admin side. This is how you view it. So you have your registry, these two, right? That's the first step. When you click on these things, after creating the super user, you will ask for a username password and then you can just log in it. And next step will be, you will see in these things, the categories and a data entry platform. It's automatically given to you by Python, right? You don't have to worry about, not from Python, it's from Django. It's in the inside Django. So you have this, whatever the categories, you can just create. Let's add a new category here saying maybe PHP and save. You will see that as well, right? And the post, whatever the fields you have given, if you click add post, it will display here. The category, because we have given the foreign key stuff, everything will be here, right? So now if you look at the post, you have this, see the category object to something like that. So you can fix those things as well. If you just go to category, you will see these things, right? So this is how you start. Next step will be to list these things. You have to create another model. It's inside the admin saying, these are the fields I'm going to pick up to display. And then you have to say again, post admin. And you have to say category admin. Right, you save it. Now the browser will restart and then you will see all the other information like the post, the title, category, author, date published, everything will be displayed here, right? So this is the admin, how you work, and you enter it. Now next step will be getting data from the database. Whatever the database, this SQLite database, right? You will get it. So before, let's stop this one. I go back to my other project. Now you have like this. Let's say admin site dot register the category. So you have to bring them down from dot models import post from dot models import category. These two are there. Now you can just say post and admin site dot register category. That's the first thing. Now to create the database or create the data inside the database, you have to do something like this, right? It's called migrations. You have to create migrations to create this data inside the data. At the moment, you don't have any migrations. You are inside the blog app. This is the blog app. Let's create the migrations. Yeah. Let's create the migrations here. This is where you start. Let me. So, oh, sorry. This is where I start. So you don't have any migrations include here, right? To start the migration, let's say, let's type Django, not Django. So Python manage. And now if you look at these things, you will see commands like this. You will see make migrations, right? So you will see commands like migrate, and then you will see SQL migrate, two different commands. So you start with, you have to create the migrations, and then you create the SQL migrate, and then finally you migrate it. So let's start with that. Let's say Python manage and then make migrations and press enter. And then you have to give a name, the application name. For now, I'm going to say blog app. We have to make the migration. You press it and then migrations will be created. So imagine create module category and you will see the migrations files here. See, under that, you will see the migration file. All the create module, and then this is the ID, and then this is everything will be there. That's the first step. The first step is to create the migrations, and second step is so oops, now we had made the migrations. Next step, let's go back to the commands. I'll show it to you again. So you have three different things. The first thing, make migrations. Next thing is to create the SQL commands. The SQL migrate. Now you have these Python commands. Next step is to create the SQL migrate. Let's go back and say again Python manage and then SQL. What was the command? SQL migrate. And then you have to give the migration file name. At the moment it says 001, right? So you can just give that name only. You can say 0001 and enter. Migration name. Blog app 001. Now you have the migrations will be created for you. You will see all the create table. It will be executed. Now we have created these migrations. Next step, the final step will be to migrate it. Now you have this command saying, OK, Python manage SQL migrate the application. This is the migration file. The final command will be this one. The last one should be just saying migrate, where it is this one, right? Clear. It should say make migrations, SQL migrate, and then finally migrate. Python and manage migrate. Finally, now this will create the all the data inside, depending on your migration inside your this database. You can just say open database. You will see all the these tables, and this all the tables are created, necessary tables, right? So now you have that one. So this is how we do that. So you have the migration. Next step will be getting data from your database. Oh, we already entered data using the admin. Now this is how you do that. Now you go back to your views. Look at the views. I have changed these views to different names. So the first thing I'll explain, it says the index. The first one, when you type the my blog gap, it should. Now what I'm going to do is like here. This is how it just like you can say latest post, whatever the post from the model post. See, we picked up from that, and then objects, then order by, how to order it, and then I'm going to say descending order publish. The minus will say descending order with the pub date, right? And then the context, this is a variable. Remember I showed you the key value pair. This is the key and the value is the latest items. Now again I'm going to use it return render request the index HTML, and then I'm going to send the context. That's it. Same thing we are going to use. Only difference is we are picking up data from the tables and putting into a variable and sending it back. This is the controller. Now we have sent it. Now let's look at the template. Inside the template, we have this index HTML. This is normal HTML. Now we have here a template saying the for whatever the latest post sent from here. This variable, this key, latest post. We know there are plenty of posts, and make sure go through a loop for each loop post, and then you can just say post.author, post.category name, post.title, and the content. And then I have created a link here saying to the route and slash the post ID, right? This is the route. So if you look at the URLs, this is the path. Same thing, we have create a blank path. If it is a blank path, just the name, make sure pick up the index one, and then the name is index. If it is as a ID, like this slash details slash one, whatever it is, and then make sure to pick the view details controller, which is this function. See the same thing. I'm going to put a try and then get a one value, and if it is an exception, just raise this 404. If it is there, make sure you have this request.detail and pass the post. Inside the details, the same thing. Post title, post content, and the author. That's it, right? This is how you do that inside the code. Now let's try this one. So we already have it here. So let's try that one, saying blog app. So we have the post. So we have this is how it works. So this is how it works, and it's simple as that. Within our kind of a like a hour, we have built our application using Django and Python, right? So guys, if you have any questions now, you can just shoot right now. I think we have around 2 minutes. Let me open my, yeah. We have kind of 2 minutes to start with. Any questions? So it looks like you don't have any questions. Yep. How can we add payment integration or third-party integrations? So third-party integrations is like you have to download, like use some sort of like here. Remember, I just show inside the controller. Inside the controller, you can just give the payment gateway informations. Like imagine it's kind of a controller. Let me share again. So I'll just show you like this. Imagine. So in Django, you have your views, which is the controller, right? Views, and then you have your templates. You have your templates, and then all the routing and stuff. Imagine you have to just, there's a button, click, and then click pay button. Inside the view, you can access the outside APIs, outside servers, and then it will return something. It will return something, okay, the payment is done or not, and then you can just come back to the view like this and display whatever the error message or whatever the stuff there. So this is how you do that. So everything should be here. So this is just a basics in implementation. So how do you how it works? The model view controller, always inside the controller. Maybe inside the controller you can just access, create more Python libraries outside Python other classes. So maybe a service class. Saying services like card service. It goes, the card service will be accessing the payment gateway, not here, right? This is the proper way. We use the card service will access the payment gateway, the gateway. And then the card service, the payment gateway access, anything output will be sent back to the view and then it goes to here. So this is the proper method, like think like that. So the views, the controller should be just handling the request and the responses, the views. Everything should be card service. Maybe you might have another service called like a product service, which will be looking at the data. Maybe in the database. Yes, database. Today, because it's just an introduction session, I did everything inside the view. Should be like this, different services, right? So these will be Python files, just accessing this information using models and then sending back to the views, and view will be handling the sending back information, the templates. So the request will be coming here. Whatever the user request will be coming here. Requests. The button clicking part will be come to this part, to the template like this. It comes here and then goes back views, and it whatever the products, or it will just come back here, right? I hope you got that. Okay, this is a good question. So Bootstrap or Twitter API, you have to work with the templates. So go inside the template, right? So go inside the template and then template, you can just insert the Bootstrap CSS files, whatever it is. Right? This is how you do that using Bootstrap or whatever the style sheets, right? How to control user access rule. So for that one, to use access rule, you can just at the moment using this simple admin, you can just create only an admin, a super user, that's it, to test it. But you don't have to use this admin, you have to create your own admin and you have to create your own code for this user access and all those things. How can we create signals in Django? What do you mean signals? Like you mentioned about events or okay, Django signals. So you mean like the session controlling, right? So actually, yeah, session controlling. So for this one, MVC applications, we can use this the session app and use that. So I am not a big fan of using this Django for MVC. For I want to just install, like show you how to create these things. So if you want to do something, then you can just use an API. Session handling, yes, session handling. You can use this session app. Have you seen this session app? So I show you inside where it is inside your main project site. You will see a settings folder and then you will see installed apps. You will have what do you call this Django contributor session app. You can use that for session handling inside the MVC application. Static files CSS, you have this again inside the static files we already handled using these templates, right? So you can create a CSS file inside the static files, inside the templates folder and access that CSS. I think we are running out of time, right, Parag?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you need more information about Django, and then I'll just post the Django URL here. You just go there and then there are plenty of tutorials you can just start with. Let me just Django. Web frameworks. Also, there's another web framework called Flask. You can use that as well if you want. So I'll just pasted the link here. There are plenty of documentation, nice tutorials. You can start with. This is just an introduction session. If you want something advanced, we can use another session. We can just create one of those things like maybe using how to create a web API sort of things, maybe in the next sessions. Right?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So I'll just post the link here for Django. There's plenty of tutorials, well written documentation is there. I just want you to just apply something. Let's to get started with. Let's go with yeah. It's all. Thank you very much for your time, guys.
Thank you all and thank you, Vicky, for the event. And I hope you guys all learned something new today. And thank you for joining today's session.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.